With their starting quarterback and their star running back slated to hit the market, the Giants are in for a very interesting offseason.
Perfect.
A very promising 2022 campaign for the New York Giants with new head coach Brian Daboll, who would go on to win the NFL's Coach of the Year award, a high honor for a rookie head coach to attain. And the Giants really did rally around their new head coach. Daboll installed the new offense and really gave life to this New York Giants unit that really was just lacking in real playmakers outside of obviously Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. But now that we're heading into this offseason, right? Both of these guys are slated to hit the free agency market. What does it mean for the New York Giants to give these guys contracts? What is it going to look like for the rest of their offseason? Well, let's just dive into that. Currently speaking, the New York Giants have $47 million in cap space to play around with heading into the March 15th NFL free agency opening. The NFL new league year for the 2023 season begins on March 15th, so any players that are free agents can sign contracts, etc., etc. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about the quarterback, Daniel Jones, and the rumors swirling that he was seeking a $45 million a year contract up there with the likes of a Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson with his deal with the Browns, Josh Allen with $43 million, Russell Wilson, the list goes a little bit further. But to be completely honest and fair, Daniel Jones is not at the talent of any of those guys. He's coming off of a career best season, but he has so far not made a Pro Bowl. He has won his first NFL playoff game just this past season, has no division titles, and honestly just isn't the playmaker that any of those guys that I just mentioned are. Daniel Jones, respectable. Again, the trajectory is there with new head coach Brian Daboll, who has really looked like a quarterback whisperer, seeing what he did with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. But Daniel Jones just isn't that guy. So $45 million a year, I think is completely outrageous. I don't know that Daniel Jones and his team really mean that. I think maybe it's one of those, you bring it to the bargaining table, you start high so that way you guys can meet a little higher than maybe they were expecting to, right? I think a decent contract for Jones, for the Giants and for Jones included, at least in today's quarterback market, right? These are numbers that quarterbacks are getting, whether they're amazing or whatever. Like, he's a solid starter. And I think, again, they're looking at the potential, they're looking at the trajectory, they're looking at their new head coach and seeing just how much can he get out of Daniel Jones. So I think between both sides, you're looking at a deal that's very likely to be worth around $30 or so million a year. If I had to ballpark it, maybe a 3-year, almost $100 million contract. We're looking at $70-ish million guaranteed. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but considering the quarterback market out there right now, considering the way that teams sign and deal with quarterbacks, I think that's honestly a pretty fair number for an NFL quarterback these days. Now, around $30-something million a year still gives them plenty of cap room, so that's going to move forward. And let's talk about Saquon Barkley now, who, again, is also hitting the market, right? Arguably the best playmaker for the New York Giants on that offense. And running backs, unfortunately, just don't quite get the love that they used to, at least as far as free agency and the cap considerations are considered, right? Saquon Barkley also did have a couple years there within the 5 years that he's been with the Giants, been in the NFL, where he's just been hurt. Like, he had a couple of years that he effectively missed due to injuries, right? But the 3 years where he was relatively and mostly healthy, over 1,000 yards on the ground each one of those seasons, and last year was absolutely the best playmaker for the New York Giants on their offense. So what is the value in keeping a Saquon Barkley? Well, let's put this also into perspective that if this is a team just like every other 32 teams, right, in the NFL, all chasing a Super Bowl every season, the value of running backs just isn't quite as what it used to be. It's a passing league. Running backs, unfortunately, are appearing to be a dime a dozen. You can get guys in the mid to late rounds that become amazing starters in today's NFL at the running back position. Versatile weapons that unfortunately do take a lot of hits. And with Saquon's track record of injuries, I think those are all things to be considered. However, does having Saquon Barkley on your roster outweigh the potential of what the Giants maybe will do with that money elsewhere? I don't know that it's going to hinder them as much. Typically speaking, I try not to, I don't give running backs probably enough credit, to be completely honest, but I just look at the statistics, I look at the history, right? Since 2009, Super Bowl teams have paid, the highest paid running back on a Super Bowl winning team was $2 million for Leonard Fournette just a few seasons ago. Now, is Saquon Barkley a generational talent? I'd argue yes, but is the value of the NFL running back going upwards? I don't think so. I think a fair-ish number for Saquon Barkley right now might be in the ballpark of around a $10 million a season. Overpaying for running backs puts you in a bit of a bind, and underpaying Saquon Barkley just means he's going to leave. He's going to make a business decision. He's going to go elsewhere. I think that for what the Giants can bring to the table, I think that what Saquon brings to this offense, I think it actually is smart in this particular case to keep Saquon Barkley. He's one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. I'd be shocked if the Giants actually parted ways with him. I would say maybe in the range of maybe a $12 million deal. I have no idea what the guarantees would look like on that contract, but that's just my general idea of what they may be trying to give Saquon Barkley. I think that's a generally fair number to give a running back of Saquon's caliber and with his history as of the moment. So what do you do with the remaining salary cap left over, right? That accounts for $42 million. Well, I think you need to make some roster moves. I think Kenny Golladay, the experiment unfortunately just didn't quite work out. I like Kenny Golladay. I loved what he had going for him in Detroit. I thought that he was going to be a very good football player for the New York Giants, and things just didn't pan out under now two regimes. I think cutting him post June 1st deadline is going to help save them $13 million towards the cap, and I think you use that money to try to just make some moves elsewhere, right? Utilize that money along the offensive line, the interior. You've got your your left tackle and your right tackles that you've drafted well for, but the interior of the offensive line could still use a little bit of work. Maybe you bring back a John Feliciano. Let me know if you're a Giants fan watching this, if he's worth bringing back, but work alongside the interior, bolster the offensive line. Championship teams have good offensive lines. I think that just rings true generally speaking. So build the offensive line, right? You have a very exciting and explosive defense. Build up that defense a little bit as well, but focus and start at the offensive line, and then get Daniel Jones some more passing weapons. Last year, I think most NFL fans respectively probably wouldn't know three of the wide receivers that played for the New York Giants last season, just being completely honest. So with that being said, I do think one guy you keep is going to be Darius Slayton. Every Giants game I've ever watched, this guy just makes plays. He's getting open. He's getting close, if not scoring, to the end zone at least. And I just think that him leaving and going elsewhere, somebody else is going to tap into that potential. And if anybody right now is really going to tap into that potential and at least give him some opportunities, I really like Brian Daboll and the Darius Slayton pairing. I think he can elevate and get the most out of Darius Slayton. If I'm the Giants, I'm going to keep him around, but everybody else is kind of fair game, right? So looking outside of there, I think you just have to dabble and play around a little bit with the wide receiver market, explore your options, but of all the guys on the roster to keep at wide receiver and one of your receiving options, keep Darius Slayton. Now, looking ahead to the NFL draft, I wanted to talk about round 1 and round 2. Now, the Giants are drafting at pick 25, and not going to get some of the best receiving talent maybe in this draft at pick 25, but this is a pretty deep receiver class from the film that I've watched, right? But let's say you're at pick 25. The Giants also need a tight end. You've got Michael Mayer from Notre Dame or Dalton Kincaid from Utah, both receiving tight ends, both very versatile and able to bring a new element or at least a new receiving option to this Giants offense. I don't think either one of those guys would be a bad pick just based off of what I've seen. So let's say they go tight end at pick 25. You've already gotten Daniel Jones a new receiving option at tight end. And then looking at round 2, still plenty of very good wide receivers. One guy that kind of stands out to me that could very well be available at pick 57 is going to be Josh Downs, the wide receiver out of UNC. I like a lot of what he brings to the tape, at least from what I've been able to watch. He has great body control, fantastic hands, great ball tracking ability, and he runs routes very, very well. I think those are all tools that the Giants could absolutely use right now. Let's say you wanted to go for maybe more of a deep threat. I think Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, should he still be there? I project that he could very well go into the first round, the late 20s as well. Should he still be there though? Round 2, pick 57, I think it's a no-brainer. You take him, a flashy guy on the outside who can burn past defensive backs, great hands as well, great ball tracking ability, and he just gets down the field with NFL speed. I think either one of those guys would be fantastic fits for Dable and the Giants offense. So thank you so much for watching the video. Of course, feel free to stick around and watch some more content. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. My name's Tristan Rines. I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.